There we go. All right, we are live, and we're going to cover today some exciting stuff. In these live coaching sessions, sometimes we get really deep in the weeds of a certain automation. Last session, we did the cross-sells. There's a cross-sell customization one. We've done new lead campaigns where we get really nitty-gritty on one little piece. Sometimes we look big picture, branding bundles. What are the overall assets? Sometimes it's, how do I use this system in my day-to-day? It's been set up, but I want to understand, how do I make calls, leave notes, move contacts around? Today, we're going to cover something that I must admit we don't give enough attention to. And partly because I don't like giving attention to it. It is a frustrating, it sucks. I'm going to be honest. I'm talking about compliance. And some of you guys especially if you're doing Medicare, if you're doing ACA, you got compliance up the wazoo. And we've got so many acronyms coming out of our ears. We've got, what have we got? CMS, we've got FCC, we've got A2P. What other acronyms can we throw in there, Alex?
Yeah, lately we've had the FCC, with all the communication stuff. It's just crazy, man. There is just so many different compliance things to take care of and watch for. And now we got Meta. One of the things that just came out is that Meta is now restricting insurance ads as a special category. And so we're just dealing with all these new, things that are kind of squeezing us and making us bob and weave as we do our marketing.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the compliance on the marketing side of things. And we're not going to touch so much CMS, Medicare, ACA compliance. It's more, what are the changes that you need to know about for marketing in 2024, 25 and beyond? Really, the last year, a lot of people saw the boom in AI. AI was a cool emerging tech. We saw a boom in compliance, especially FCC. Is that Federal Communications? What is the acronym?
Yeah. Federal Communications Commission, I think.
Whatever it is. It's all about communication to consumers. I've got Milos in the room with us from Canada, and I'm actually Canadian myself. So one thing I do want to identify that a lot of these regulations are specific to the United States. A2P, that's something that relates to texting. So if you are using an application, A, to P is person, application to person sending, you're using a computer to send mass text campaigns, then you're going to be required to follow certain regulations. And if you're watching this from outside of the US, it only applies to you if you're texting US contacts, but still what I believe these are best practices to follow. And I do expect that other countries may follow suit, especially Canada, because there's such a close relationship. So don't be surprised if some of these enforcements are going to come down the pipes for Canadians as well. A bit of the background we'll start with is just, you got a cell phone. Getting spam text sucks. It's like, dude, this is my private life and you have invaded my world. You've gotten your message that I don't want front and center. And in 2023, the carriers, they banded together and they said, you know what? We don't want to get shut down by the government. We don't want to get the government involved. We're going to create our own policies. We're going to create our own structure. So like AT&T, T-Mobile, et cetera, they got together and they said, let's create something called the campaign registry. And what this is, it's a regulatory board where businesses like us as well, like each of you, you have to actually apply. And you have to say, hey, I'm a business. Here's my details. Here's the kind of text that I will send users. And the most important piece of the new changes last year are one-to-one consents, FCC. I'll touch on that in a second. But A2P, carrier regulations, you have to actually get permission now. Like if I want to text Frida has to say, yeah, Will, you can text me. And I'm going to show us today what compliance actually looks like. Yes.
With that A2P, so I saw something about the one-on-one if you're purchasing leads. Like
yes,
that's supposed to be
FCC. Yes, I'll show that too. That's a change that happened in January, February.
Yeah.
Changes were announced and they're going to be enforced a lot more heavily soon for lead generation. So we're covering A2P and FCC today because there's a lot of overlap, and we want to make sure that users don't get in trouble. Some of the worst case that can happen on FCC depends on where you are, but sometimes big fines financially. Alex, do you know anything that you can share about let's talk about the pitfalls for a second here.
Yeah. So, speaking of A2P, if you text someone, so, let's use people on the call. So I'm in the United States, I'm in New York. If my personal number is on a do not call list and then somebody texts me a spam text, I hit stop on that and then boom, I'm opted out of their messages. But if they text me again, then now they are breaking the rules, and I can now sue them. And they're liable for fines. I believe it's $25,000 per text. It's a huge fine. Now, if I'm on a national do not call list or even a state level do not call list, and they scrape my number and they text me without me asking, then they are in violation. So there's two ways to get in violation. One, texting me without my opt-in. Two, texting me after I opt out. So either one of those puts you in violation and sets you up for pretty large fines. And you are fined for each instance, which means for each text that I receive, that is a separate instance, and the fines just go up. There is no one fine for however many texts. Each text carries its own fine, which is pretty nuts. Couple other things that you want to keep in mind with that is
I want to make sure I understand, Alex. I don't mean to cut you off, because if I buy a list and I text that list, I can't do that anymore?
Correct. Do not do that.
Yeah, and we're going to cover some of the intricacies. What would be helpful is if everyone dump more comments in the chat, because there are some nuances, and we'll get to that as we go through. We're kind of following the whole progression here. So I want to answer questions in kind of the flow of how we're setting this up here. This is really good stuff, because what you're going to ask is very important here. But we do want to just stress that there are things that you need to be aware of as you're an insurance agent, but you're also a business, you're also a marketer, and maybe you're receiving leads from a partnership with a company. Something like Kaboom Leads is a bit more of a trustworthy, safe method with the new FCC changes. But even just you sending text campaigns means you're a marketer. And there's either going to be fines or your texting and your phone could be shut down. And that's nothing to do with us. What we've seen lately is some users, they'll join our system, they'll get so excited because they can send mass texting campaigns like let's go in here, our new lead campaign, which is awesome. But if you add 500, 5,000 contacts to the text campaign and just, and people are like, whoa, stop, I don't want your text. And they reply with an opt-out keyword, which they must be able to do. The automatic system from the campaign registry sees, oh, Frida's got more than 2% of her audience that says stop. She's probably spamming people. Let's shut her down. So we're going to cover some of the ways that you must gather compliance-related consent, but also what are some of the best practices so your system doesn't get shut down. You could get your texting, just the texting, you could get it shut down for 24 hours. That's the first level of penalty. The second is that you get completely shut down, and we have to, on your behalf, submit a request to unlock. And it could take 3 weeks. It could take 4 weeks. It's being ironed out, the process, but it is a frustrating headache. Headache for you guys. It's a headache for us. And again, this is not something that we control on our end. This is carrier networks using systems to filter businesses And it sucks. Again, 2% of people replying stop, that doesn't feel like it's much. But that's the rate that they've set. 2% of people, it might be per day, that reply stop. That's going to send a signal that you might be spamming people. And we know that tools like these are super powerful, but they are open to abuse. Alex and I experienced last year or the year before, where there's a couple people that signed up for our system, got an account, used someone else's credit card, and sent spam to hundreds of thousands. It was actually hundreds of thousands of people.
Brutal. And absolutely disgusting.
And we, as a business, admittedly, we lost money because they ran it on someone else's charge. We were footing the bill at the end of the day because the credit card that was stolen got refunded, and that's still, someone had to pay for it. That's us. So it felt like someone broke into your house, started drinking your milk from your fridge, peed all over the bathroom floor, and then left. And you're like, dude. So part of me, I'm grateful that there are new regulations, because all of us hate spamming. But what we need to realize is that to someone, we could be a spammer. And we're going to show you some language. We're going to show you some automations. We're going to show you even how the system itself kind of protects you. There are some things that the system will do to help you remain compliant. So don't get too freaking out. Just freak out enough to take this seriously. That's the goal today.
That's about being compliant, making sure that you're, texting people that you're allowed to text. And so we got some questions in the Zoom chat. What if somebody's on a do not call list, but they fill in my ad? Then that means that they're good, because they've given you consent to reach out to them. So you're okay to text. If you've purchased leads and you get a list of leads, shared list, do not text them. If you purchase leads from someone like Kaboom, where they say you are going to be contacted by, in this case, Frida, she will be texting you. Here's her, national producer number. If they are generating leads for you using your name, you are good to follow up with them. If you have any additional questions on that, feel free to let us know, but we'll continue on with the training.
Yeah, and let's just, because we're going to go like the logical progression of a contact into your system and then compliance. So it starts with lead generation, which is FCC regulations. FCC, the biggest changes are one-to-one consent. What used to be the case is that lead vendors, even Cody's team used to do this, they would run one ad, maybe for annuities, we're trying to gather annuity leads, and they would dial that one ad in, and they got that cost per lead. Oh, it's awesome. They could just dial in one ad and then sell whatever leads came in through that one ad to 50 agents, 100 agents. They wouldn't share the same lead, but they would take the interest and break up. Here's 25 of those people, and I'm selling them to you. The changes are lead vendors can no longer do that. They have to, if they want to stay in business, they have to gather one-to-one consent, which means that if I'm a lead vendor, which we're not, I would have to actually set up an ad for Milos, and it would actually have to have his name on it, maybe his NPN number. If I want to sell leads to Frida, I'd have to set up an ad just for Frida, because the lead must say, Frida is given permission to contact me, or Milos is given permission, or Alex. The lead must explicitly give permission to one person, and permission cannot be sold. It cannot be traded. It must be gathered on a one-to-one basis. So this has been a huge nightmare for businesses who do sell leads, because overnight they've had to shift. And we only present now options that we believe are going to meet a level of compliance. You can see here we highlight FCC compliance from our friends at Kaboom Leads. So if you are someone watching this video and you're like, I have a lead vendor I'm a little suspicious of, reach out and say, yo, like, do you gather one-to-one consent? Can you walk me through this? Show me the ad that you're launching on my behalf. But if they're going to stay in business long-term, the compliance changed in January or February of 2024. The enforcement is still taking place. So as of this video, there may still be some people selling leads that aren't doing it compliantly. Is that right, Alex?
Yeah, Yeah. There are still some people that I know of, I'm not going to name them on this video, that are not doing things compliantly, but at the end of the day, it's the agent's job to make sure that the lead vendor they hire is doing it the right way. So inside of Agent CRM, we're highlighting people that are doing it the right way to protect you and help you. There are other vendors that are doing it well, but it's just so important to make sure that they're using your name, your national producer number, and the leads are going exclusively to you. You can still hire lead vendors. There's still some excellent sources out there, but the game has changed. So there are no more aged leads that you could, you used to be able to purchase them really cheap. There are no more shared leads. It's all exclusive, which means the price has gone up. But there are some great people out there that can generate leads for you consistently.
Yeah. Now, if you have old leads that you've purchased in the past year, or you've just got an aged list period in your system, calling is sketchy, texting is sketchy, email campaigns, it's a little bit safer. So if you still want to get any value for the existing contacts in your system, sending them something like the 2.5 blue lead nurturing campaign, that might be one option. But really moving forward, fresh, hot, exclusive leads would be your best bet. Aged leads, received leads. We're going to cover in a second the other component. We're talking FCC advertising. We're going to talk about A2P and how that comes into play as well. But remember when I mentioned about people replying stop to your texts? If you're messaging an aged list, if you text them and they don't expect your text, or they haven't recently engaged for interest in insurance, they're going to reply stop at a higher rate. And that's going to get you in trouble. So that's the other side of things, is you must gather one-to-one consent, but you must text in a way that doesn't damage your sender reputation. So anything, we'll move on from FCC because it's pretty much just that. Gather one-to-one consent, whether you're working with a compliant partner that knows how to get leads into our system easily. That's why we highlight these guys. Some lead vendors, they'll give you a list and you got to just figure it out yourself. We like them because they know how to automatically put them in the system. Marketing Plus, we work with you to launch an ad on your Facebook business page. You have access to our team. You have access to our ad review sessions to dial things in. You have access to an ad launcher and pre-tested ad content. So right to, those are them launching an ad on your behalf with your name and likeness, etc. This one is you working with our team hand-holding. All right, let's talk about the lead has come to us. However we've received it, we've launched our ad or someone else has launched an ad. We'll show you now what A2P compliance looks like. The first component of compliance is what's called opt-in consent. And I'll show you exactly what it looks like. Now, this is a pre-built website that every single one of our users has the ability to import. And this one actually is different. We just did an update. So some of you, if you're using a bundle that you downloaded before December 15th, maybe, you might not have this. Reach out to our team if you have questions. But the latest version here, request information, check this out. There is a pop-up. And you'll notice here, I consent to receive. Now, it feels kind of stupid. I'm talking headaches here. They gave me their dang phone number. Isn't that enough? Like, does that not communicate that I can text you if you gave me your phone number? Not in the eyes of the A2P regulatory board, the campaign registry is what they're called. You must explicitly have a checkbox. And the thing that's a little frustrating, this checkbox, it can't be a required field. You can't force people to check in terms of submission. Like earlier on, what we did, we gave you a form where, I mean, they're engaging with you. They're reaching out and raising their hand. Hey, Milos, give me, I shouldn't use Milos because he's in Canada, but you get the idea. The need to give a optional consent. So I'm going to read the language here. I consent to receive SMS notifications and alerts, occasional marketing from His Majesty. That was a little fun thing I threw in there. Messaging frequency varies. This must be in there. Messaging and data rates may apply. Text help to the number of your system for assistance. You can reply stop to unsubscribe at any time. And then privacy policy and terms of service, that also has to be in there. Now, all of our new templates have this, so you don't have to think about the language. Even privacy policy and terms of service, I'll show you that in a moment. But when you are texting to US people, your system will not even text until you go through an application process and get approved. Now, it's now taking about 3 days on average, what we've seen once you submit. So major increase in speed. Used to take 3 weeks sometimes, early days of A2P. One little note here, Alex, you may not know this, but my understanding of A2P is that now potentially phone, you cannot require phone to be filled in. So potentially this may not be a compliant form. I'm looking and I'm watching, and what our users need to know is that we're constantly dancing with compliance. Just like in FCC, rules changed in January, but the enforcement is catching up. Same with A2P. There's a bunch of other things I'm aware of, but they're not being enforced yet. So we're kind of watching because it's a higher bar again and again. And so part of us doing this training is showing users what should you know about compliance so that you don't get yourself in trouble or shut down. So we're gonna be very vigilant as a business, just watching how do we provide compliant assets. But let's jump here. Privacy policy and terms. Every website, we've got a pre-made terms and conditions page and privacy policy. Your branding is going to instantly update all of these pages, your colors, your profile pictures, your communication. You can see here I've got some information. This will all pre-populate. So you don't have to edit anything. You don't have to change. We've done some research. What is going to give you compliant assets? This is required for A2P, but I believe FCC, again, there's some overlap. The privacy policy is also required, right, Alex?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. So you have to have a privacy policy that shows exactly how you're going to use their data, and then you have to follow through on how that data is used. So a couple things to note on the privacy policy. You cannot publicly display their contact information or who they are. So in other words, if you are not telling them, hey, I'm going to be, putting your testimonial on my website, then you cannot use their full name on your website. So there's, so there's stuff around that. Now, if they post a review on your Facebook page or your Google review, you can copy and paste that testimonial, no problem. But if they give you a testimonial over the phone, you can feel free to use it, but just use their first name, like Will said this, and not their full name. So there's things like that. Also, you cannot share their contact information with a referral partner unless they have given you permission. So you'll want to just make sure that you use their data in the ways that they say, you're allowed to use my data in this way.
Yeah. All right. So let's say someone just filled in that form. We'll go back for a second here, request information. We punched in the information, your name, last name, phone, email. Now in this one, we're doing personal insurance, so home or auto. This is a unique field, but we're going to check the box and submit. Now the first thing that's going to happen if you're using the branding bundles is that's going to trigger a message that's going to go out to me, the lead. So new lead campaign here. Let's see, new lead campaign. Our first message. Hey, contact first name. This is user first name. Thanks for requesting information about auto insurance plans. What is required for the very first text to go out? This all happens automatically. So we've set you up so you don't even have to think about this level of compliance, but I do want to explain and educate it. The first message that you send someone must include the lead's name, your name, and your business name. and an opt-out message. Now you'll notice there is no opt-out like text stop to end messages. Thanks, will winter insurance. That's not in this text because, let's go back here, settings, business profile, and you know what? This account is a demo account that doesn't have phone, so this is a very poor example. Let me bring up another account here, Alex.
The fun of doing these like live trainings, it's like, wait a minute, I've got my demo set up to show a branding bundle, but now the phone's not working. So we got a question come in while we're talking. I do a lot of cold calling for annuities. You're telling me that is no more. Correct. I do not recommend doing any cold calling for lead generation anymore because you don't know who you're calling and if they're on a do not call list. So in general, the FCC is making it so that they do not want you to cold text or cold call consumers. The whole idea is that they want your phone to be a sacred space where only the people that you have given permission to reach out to you are now reaching out to you. The phone used to be a wild, wild west. Anybody could call you. Anybody could text you. And they're really trying to shut that down because there's been a lot of abuse. And if you're like, wait, has there been a lot of abuse? I don't abuse people, but look at all the spam texts, look at all the spam calls that you get and how annoying it is. So they're trying to cut down on that. Yeah.
And let's just really hammer home that point because a lot of people who do end up in what we call A2P jail, like your phone gets shut down. People are like, what? This is ridiculous. Like stupid enforcement Nazis and the government and all this stuff. First of all, it's not the government, so chill out. It's just, I mean, let's be honest. The US does love their regulations and it does seem to favor consumers instead of small businesses. That's the reality. It is in many ways challenging to be a business. Let's just get used to that and move on. You're going to have to learn to play by the rules. And part of that is understanding what are the rules and what can trigger suspensions. Because you might not feel like a spammer, but the 2, 3, 4% of people that opted out, they felt that you were a spammer. So if you are shut down, this is 100% your fault. And I don't mean that to say you're an idiot. I mean that to say, hey, let's get educated so that we can avoid these circumstances. Because it totally sucks. It inhibits your business. If we got shut down for texting, our appointment reminders wouldn't show up. Our new user onboarding texts wouldn't show up. And that would suck for us as a business. So we got to play it safe. Like I'll maybe another transparency moment here. We sent a text in the fall and it was like, we wanted to engage users with some, I can't remember what it was anymore, but someone gave us a text and we wanted to send it out. It was a useful text, but we as a business for the first time in over a year and a half, we ourselves got a 24-hour suspension. And it was like, oh, we can't send those kind of messages anymore because it's too much of a risk for us to shut down our texting, even for one day. And if you repeat that behavior, again, it could take you a month to get unlocked, which would suck. So let's get back here. Settings, business profile, the system by default under the general section, make SMS compliant by adding an opt-out message.
Yes.
Now you can customize this. You can see here to opt out of all messages, reply quit. And there are some keywords here. Stop, stop all, unsubscribe, cancel, and quit. So that's the opt-out part. Remember the first part, lead name, your business name, and opt-out. So we got the opt-out, and then we've got the business name here. The system will recognize that you have never been texted before and will automatically stamp this onto that first outbound interaction with the user. And I will say some users in the CRM space have found a shortcut. They think they're being really clever to opt out of all messages, and they use what's called a non-standard opt-out word. And they use something like reply no to opt out. And then they set up a message. I'm giving you guys, some of you ideas. I'm telling you right now, do not do this. They want to use a non-standard opt-out because what they think is going to happen is that the carriers aren't monitoring no. And so I can kind of be compliant and create a bypass, and maybe some of you, I'm hoping that there's a little bit of shame that's coming upon you right now if you're doing this. Like, you could add an automation that would D&D someone, but what's going to happen is the campaign registry is going to say, you are trying to side skirt our authority, you are trying to bypass regulations, and we're going to shut you down. Because they use these keywords to automatically monitor your opt-out rate. Like, they can tell to the 0.1% how much of your audience is opting out, and you must play by these rules if you want to continue to use the tools that are going to help you scale your business. So you must, don't be an idiot. You must use the standardized opt-out. Mm-hmm. And it sucks. It's frustrating. But these, again, regulations, get used to it. It sucks, period. Feel that sting, feel that pain, maybe go punch a punching bag and take out your energy on something, and then learn compliance and move on and play by the rules. Businesses that are sticking it through, go for it.
If you use a non-standard keyword and Twilio sees it, or I'm sorry, the carriers see it, and they relay that to Twilio, the penalties are severe. I have seen people get their A2P completely locked down. So it's not just suspended, it's locked. There is no like resurrection. And here's the bad part. When you register for A2P, you're attaching your EIN to that number. Now they know this business does not comply. And the odds of you getting approved for another phone number in the future, teeny tiny. So it could literally shut you down. So just play by the rules. That's all we're saying. Just play by the rules and you'll be fine. If you don't play by the rules, then, the people that are in charge of handing out phone numbers and giving you the tools necessary to communicate, then they're like, this person doesn't play by the rules, so they can't play in our sandbox. So you don't want that. It's not worth it.
But let's also just emphasize the reward at the other end of the tunnel, because what we're seeing is with every enforcement raised, and Medicare, we know the hoops that you have to jump through, some of the consent pieces, scope of appointments, 48-hour rules. Every year, it feels like it gets harder. And even for us as a business, when A2P regulations came out, texting, like most users believe that texting is the core feature of the system. It's one feature of many, but it is such a key feature. We felt when A2P was announced, oh my goodness, are we going to lose users because they can't figure this out? Oh no, we're going to tank in our monthly revenue. We can't figure this out. For us as a business, we freaked out a little too much, but maybe that was a good thing because we doubled down on our process. We doubled down on our applications and how we guided users. Some of our best growth as a business, and this is what's going to happen for you as well. Some of our best growth as a business happened when we learned how to navigate well. When I look at our financial history, there was a massive spike right after regulations because other agencies, I'm talking software agencies, and for you guys, other insurance agents did not know how to keep up. They broke the rules, they got their whole system shut down, or maybe for some of you, you're seeing agents alongside of you where they're getting flagged, they're getting suspended. That's a big thing this past season for some agents in the US, getting suspended, being unable to, I'm not sure the full details on it, but it's been a huge deal. But for you who are watching, who are like, you know what? Yeah, I get what you're saying, Will. I'm going to power through. I'm going to put on my big boy pants, put on my big girl pants. There is a reward, and it's like a thinning out of the herd that you're going to be there to receive the reward of your suffering. So we've talked about the compliance piece. I believe we should talk about marketing strategy, Alex. Like what's more on like, how do I communicate with my leads? But is there another point you want to take from this piece of the equation here?
Yeah, let's segue. So we've been talking about A2P. Quick note, Will mentioned earlier, there are text messages that you want to send so that people know who you are, and then you use their full name. We've got all this already created in the branding bundles. So you're like, oh man, I better make notes and write these out. We got you. You're already set up in the branding bundle, so you don't need to worry about it. Use the branding bundle and then tie it into your Facebook lead form, and you're all set and ready to go. Now, in your marketing, let's talk marketing. So what I'm about to describe.
One last tool I want to show you here. I've got on my other screen, there's been some announcements of some changes that are taking place, and our developers understand that. I will say for anyone watching this video, December 2024, heads up, enforcement is likely, throughout this year we saw it happen, enforcement's going to probably take another little notch up in the next few months. And the system has some tools coming out that are going to help you monitor. So under settings, phone numbers, advanced settings. Now there's actually going to be an extra thing here for those who have their phone integrated. I don't know if I can show that here, but there's actually going to be metrics that are going to show you here is your opt-out rate, and it's going to warn you, it's going to prepare. Those things are still being developed. Some of the API access has been limited until now. There's a bunch of reasons, but you will have what's called messaging analytics. I'll show you ours, and it's not 100% accurate yet. I don't even know what that means. 7% is definitely more than 2%. So there will be, coming soon, it said that for a few months now, but there will be more data on your settings, phone numbers, messaging analytics. This is going to show you what's actually happening in your account. So pray to the development gods that these things come out soon, but there are more tools that are going to help you remain compliant. Definitely. All right, let's go to the marketing now. I just want to tag that onto the conversation so we can get onto communication strategy. Yeah. Because some of this now touches a little on psychology. It touches more on the personal level than the regulatory level. Because again, we're trying to say, how do I communicate in an effective way to my leads? Partly, I want to close more policies. I want to book more meetings, but I also want to understand strategy so that I don't step in a pile of compliance dog doo-doo.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the communication piece, and we've got so much of that dialed in for you. We do our very best to keep you within the guidelines. So at the end of the day, you do have the power to go outside of those, but we do our very best to keep you compliant. Let's talk about marketing. So marketing compliance, there's been a lot of changes on this, a lot of new things for us to keep in mind. We're going to see some stuff on Meta coming in January, where all insurance ads are now going to be restricted under special category. Now, we're going to be coming out with a lot of training on this, but let me give you the overview of how to approach this. Number one, look at it with a positive outlook. This is actually really good news because you're going to get a lot of people that run from Meta ads because they're scared that they're going to be in a special category. Two, the Facebook algorithm can actually help you. It'll work in your favor. The way that you do that is by doing a specific call out to the people that you want to respond to your ad. So when it's in a special category, you cannot restrict your ad by age, which is horrible if you're selling final expense or Medicare, things that are geared towards the older age groups, right? You're like, why? I do not want these 18-year-olds to see a final expense ad. Like, they're not going to buy this. So in your ad, you just call out, say, hey, if you're between the ages of 50 and 60 and you are ... and you lay out, here's the things like, you're married or you have grandkids or, you want to speak directly to the people in that age bracket. As they're reading, they're going, yeah, that's me. The more that those people, so the 50 to 60-year-olds in this example, the more that the 50 to 60-year-olds engage with your ad, then the Facebook algorithm starts to work in your favor. It starts to churn out more of their audience that don't fit that. And so now, even though you're in a special category, Facebook still wants you to be profitable. They don't want you to leave. They still want your advertising dollars. They want you to be successful. And so they're like, wow, we're noticing that a lot of 50 to 60-year-olds are responding to, Frida's ad. So we're going to just continue showing Frida's ad, and we're going to narrow our audience using our algorithm to just 50 to 60-year-olds. Now, you cannot set that inside of the Facebook Ads Manager, but the Facebook algorithm identifies who is responding to your ad and shows it to more and more of those people. So we are going to see a lot of restrictions. We're going to have to figure our way around some of these things. But at the end of the day, this is actually going to help insurance agents. One other thing that these restrictions are going to do is it's going to remove a lot of location restrictions. You're like, oh my gosh, Alex, I'm only licensed in these certain states. Like I only want to work in these areas. What do I do? Same thing. Put out in your ad text the call out of who you want to respond to your ad, even though the ad will now show to everybody. If you call it out and you say, hey, if you're a 50 to 60-year-old in Texas, like I want you to respond to this ad, right? Well, theoretically, somebody who is 18 and living in California won't respond to the ad, even though they're seeing it. And so then Facebook will stop showing it to the people that are not engaging, and they will instead really lean into the people that are responding to your ad, because again, they want you to be successful. They do not want you to leave. They want you to be successful on Meta. So there's going to be a lot of changes that happen. Work with us, get a Marketing Plus upgrade subscription, work with our ad review experts so that we can review your ads and, help to identify if your ad's not performing, why it's not performing, because there are very simple workarounds and tweaks to make to your existing ads so that they start working again.
Yeah, and we're going to do a deep dive into this in January for sure. We might even do a full session on this, but one thing to note, probably lead cost is going to go up a little bit. If you are working with a lead vendor, we don't know their policies, we don't know their results, but the assumption based on how these changes will impact, your cost per lead might go up a little bit. We've done in another session a whole calculation strategy. Like cost per lead is not the best number. Why is it not the best number? There's a bunch of reasons. We'll probably revisit that again. Watch the lead gen one that we talked about that. But the point is, if you're still making money and you're still able to increase your return of investment, then that's just part of the game. It does suck. Just consider it inflation and move on. The frustration with it, I get it. But some of these things, again, what we're trying to say is, hey, you guys are tough. You guys can do it. You've been through a lot before. And what does it take to stand out in the market? Understanding of the compliance pieces and learning how to navigate them well. I do want to talk about just the campaign strategy itself. Part of what Alex mentioned is, your graphics and your text being focused on the audience. Like, hey, are you in California? I got an ad. This was kind of cool, Alex. It said, are you a 33-year-old dad looking for, it might've been mortgage protection or something like that. And I am 33 and I actually have a baby coming March 10th. So that was super impressive. Like it was a guy holding a sign. Those pictures, it's a guy holding a sign on the street or something like that, a cardboard sign. And it was my age exactly. And it was my life circumstances. And we're actually on the lookout for a home. So it was like, whoa, whoever's doing these ads, they know what they're doing. But the point is that when it's more tailored to your audience, when you get a text from that person, so imagine I opted in and I get a text. I want that text because it's for me. I feel like I engage with that text. It's timely. I'm also a fresh lead, a hot lead. I just opted in. So of course I expect those messages. But when we reach out to our audience, we want to send them messages that we believe they want to receive. We don't want to send them something that's totally off script because that's going to result in more stop responses. And so we're going to try to get more and more specific. What we've even done as a business is we've tried to send less and less and less emails. We still send a ton. We probably still send too many. But what I've been doing is starting to segment, and I've started to create conditions and automations where if they've done this event, bypass the email so they don't get it. Because I know the more I send you things about products that aren't relevant to you, the more likely you'll unsubscribe, the less likely you're going to open my messages. We're not talking too much about emails, but there's a little bit of an email reputation thing too. But the point is, send people things they want, send people things that they expect, send people things that even sound less spammy. That's maybe one of the tips I'll have here. And for some of you watching, I'd say go check out your text messages again. A hot tip here, go through conversations. There's a conversation tab. Let's make sure I don't show any data here. There's a conversation tab, and you can actually go into recents and type stop, and you're going to see every single text where someone has replied stop. And that's going to give you the indication either, one, these leads are poor quality. That's one reason why people might opt out. Two, this language needs to be revised. And some people have gotten their system shut down. They've gotten completely locked out. I go into their system to do a little spot check. I do what I did here. I type stop. And the messages that I'm seeing some people send, I would reply stop. It's like the most markety, spammy, unrelational, like, did you know that this, blah, blah, blah. Check now for this rate, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, stop. As much as possible, if it's a fresh lead, you can send something a little bit more to the point. But I like personally to advocate for a relational approach. I like to include an image of myself in those photos. Like, hey, this is Will. You reached out at one point because you were interested in insurance. Is that still you, or should I take you off my list? Something where it's like, oh, hey, I'm just a guy. I just sent you a text. Maybe I did it personally, not like, oh, here's a marketing blitz that's super cold and sterile and markety. Check yourself. Check your messages. Are you sending something that you would want to receive? And I believe one of the maybe takeaways that I see as a thread through our session today, put yourself in the contact's position. You may not feel like a spammer, but the campaign registry, or maybe the person you're texting feels like you're a spammer. What would you want to receive? How frequently would you want to receive it? What's the language? And it's not just about compliance. It's also about, hey, let's get you some more booked appointments. And if you're harassing people, if you're not engaging with them in a way that they prefer to be reached out to, great. System tools are awesome. Mass marketing campaigns, wonderful, but use them intelligently. Use them with some tact. Use them with some even empathy as we start to see, hey, what is the best way to engage with contacts? We're giving you these super powered tools to amplify your message, to automate your business, but you can definitely abuse them and get yourself in trouble. So I think we've got a question, or is that the AI summary here? Yep. I think there's a lot more, honestly, that I've not covered. There's little picky things in the A2P world. But what I've shared today, the stop response, some of the strategy, these are the main things that you do need to be aware of that we have seen enforced. So all the other stuff, we'll do more trainings if we believe that you need to learn about the weeds of it. But we're doing a lot on our end to protect each of our users. Some cool new features that are coming out to protect you at an even higher level. But this is more just, hey, let's lay a foundational understanding of how to market well in 2025 and beyond with tools like Agent CRM so that you can keep using them. So you don't end up in A2P jail. We are here to help if that's you, but please don't be that guy. I hate unlocking systems. It takes forever, and you hate it, and you're frustrated at my team, and we're like, guys, we're doing our best. Mohammed, shout out to you. You're awesome. He's the one who does our unlocking. To Alex, land this plane if we have some questions or.
Yeah, so you guys, the biggest thing to take away, Agent CRM is on your side. We're here for you. We want you to succeed. We want you to text every single one of your leads. We want you to email every single one of your leads, and not just when they first come in, but for as long as they're in your database. But the only way those messages are going to get through is if you follow the rules of compliance and you make it so that your messages to your clients feel like you value them and that you care. People do not like to be marketed to, but they love to be sold products and services that help them. And so when you come across with empathy and you speak directly to their problems, then you'll have a ton of success. And we've got a lot of really cool workflows in here that we have seen work time and time again, and we are giving them to you as a part of Agent CRM. So that's our goal. That's our heart. If you have any questions or need help, we have a ton of support options to help you, including phone support, email, live Zoom. If you're like, hey, I have some questions on, can I do this? Or is this something that is compliant? Is this lead vendor, are they doing a good job? Feel free to reach out to us. So we'll give you our honest opinion. Because at the end of the day, the only way that we survive is if you thrive. And so we are here to help you. We're here to make sure that you are not only able to stay in business, but thrive in business. And so these compliance things, not fun to talk about. Like Will started the conversation like, we hate talking about compliance, but it's so important because at the end of the day, if you're not compliant, no matter how good that text message is that you wrote out, it ain't going to get delivered. So we're here for you. We got more training coming up on this as things change and, we have to bob and weave some more. We'll continue to innovate and make changes on our side so that you stay compliant and you can keep marketing to the full effect and serve and support as many families as possible. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming on the call.